I'm very excited about this June 24 quarterly investor webinar, largely around the outlook. So we'll get right to it. A little bit about Digital X, just in case this is the first webinar that you've been on. We're a digital asset investment manager and blockchain technology developer. We believe we're perfectly positioned to capitalize and scale up as decentralized finance is adopted by traditional financial markets globally. And probably one of the most exciting things about the June quarter really was that institutional take-up and the advances in our market. It seems like everything's changing daily. We always do qualify these calls and all the comments that we make, me in particular, around the volatility. And, the one thing that is certain about our market is the volatility, and we don't take that volatility lightly. On the 30th of June, our share price was 4.1 cents and our market cap was around 35.5 million. And we believe that our share price is very good value given the work around management and what we're doing. And we'll be here to tell you why as we go on to the next slide. Now, Digital X, we would describe ourselves, as we mentioned earlier, digital investment management or digital asset management. Those terms are interchangeable. We also have two parts of the business. There's the digital assets part and the sell my shares part. Now, the sell my shares part comprises a single share sales business and also a company called Drawbridge, which is a RegTech product that we're working on in the background that really fuels those share sales with share approvals for employees of listed companies like ourselves. And then we have our funds management or digital assets business, where we have 4 predominant products: a Digital X Asset Reference Token Fund, which we will talk about in the outlook with a little bit of a rebrand, the Digital X Fund, which is a crypto fund, a wholesale Bitcoin fund, and as we progress, we'll talk about the progression of the Bitcoin ETF, which obviously all comments happened after the end of this quarter. So we'll skip to the next slide, please. One of the things we're most excited about with Digital X is that this was the 10-year anniversary of Digital X being listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. As we had a little bit of a retrospective around that, I guess, we really thought about, well, what has Digital X been for the market over these 10 years? Because turning 10 really is quite something. And, what we really reflected on was that Digital X has been innovating in the blockchain and digital asset space for all of those 10 years. We started off as a company that was the first listed company in Australia that mined Bitcoin back in those days. And then we basically evolved into a Bitcoin trading company, which then evolved into one of the first advisory companies around the rush that was the ICOs back in 2017. And obviously the controversy around regulation and how those instruments are regulated saw a pivot in 2018 into digital asset management, which really resulted in what we have now today, the legacy of the track record. And something that we're really proud of is to have some of the longest track records in our funds management business, not only in Australia, in the world. And it can't be underestimated as the institutions come into this market, the relevance of that track record as we talk about things like critical mass in that funds management business. And to get really successful in institutional land, we really need to get to that $100 million mark. And that can only happen with a few prerequisites. And one of them is a 5-year track record. So we're super excited about having that as a flag to plant in the ground to really compete with and be relevant as institutions come into this sector. In 2023, we're super proud that we're one of the first companies in the world, if not the first, to actually do a few firsts in real-world asset tokenization. One of them was around an ERC 4626 smart contract, which is what we use as the foundational element of tokenizing our real-world asset token fund. That's a bit of a mouthful. And in and of itself, that fund is a double innovation because the fund itself is tokenized as well as investing in the opportunity of that emerging space, which is the tokenization of other real-world assets and that investable universe. During 2023, we also had another really major landmark for us, and something we're proud of and speaks to the track record as well, was being number 1 and number 3 performing funds in Australia for Morningstar. Now, the number 1, which was the Bitcoin fund, was, you could arguably say is the outperformance of a single asset. In the crypto fund, we're super proud of showcasing our investment methodology in crypto assets, the Universal Scoring Matrix, to not only be number 3, but we were also number 1 in terms of crypto asset manager, and that we're super proud of, because that was a curated portfolio of crypto. We always say with the Universal Scoring Matrix and our smart list and our playlist that not all crypto is created equal. And that performance was really attributed to that portfolio selection process, the lists that we create and how we create them of what is investable in crypto. That bleeds into our real world asset tokenization process and comes down to what we call our crypto playlist, which is, that really key feature of our performance. Then the other thing we're super proud of the Hash 1 is in 2024, being one of the first spot Bitcoin applications on the ASX. And obviously time has passed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the outlook, because we do have some exciting comments to make about that, which I'll stick to the outlook for. If we skip to the next slide, please, we'll just come into some 2024 highlights for DigitalX in and of itself. And one of the biggest, I think, events of 2024 was the capital raising, and what we believe is, as a management team, we can really put that capital to work, and we believe that by investing in the product that we're promoting, backing the DigitalX fund and the real world asset tokenization fund. I keep stumbling over that because we have changed the name, and that will be announced in the outlook. So obviously these slides were updated after the outlook was released. What we were calling the DART fund, we'll speak to a little bit more, has been renamed the real world asset tokenization fund, just because it was an easier name. And deploying capital into that and getting that operational has been a huge amount of work from management. It's no mean feat. It's very easy to strike a blow doing a trade, but to actually really take an innovation to the next level and seed it and get it up and running is very important. And in the outlook, we'll talk about some more exciting announcements we have about that coming up. We also reworked the structure of the portfolio, which is a big thing as well, because we got feedback from investors that although we love the housing asset reference token opportunity and we'll continue to pursue that, we needed to blend the portfolio with higher returns. And we really dug into that smart list and playlist innovation to build that portfolio. So now we have a wonderful portfolio that now is like not only positive social impact, but really superior investment returns around that 12 to 13% mark. So please, drop in and have a look at that and ask us if you need any information. In terms of the DigitalX funds, again, in the quarter, not only were we ranked number 1 with Morningstar, in the quarter, we also ranked number 2 and 5 in APAC for Preqin, and that's a global ranking. So we're super proud of that because, as I said earlier, being relevant globally, as well as good performance, as well as the track record, is that real secret sauce inside of the funds management business. The Sell My Shares business, the Quiet Achiever, again, achieved really great quarterly revenue returns and beat revenue targets by some margin, and also the previous quarter by 2.3%. So we're super proud of that and the work that's gone into that process, and to how we execute that across the business. We also, very excitingly for us, launched an education hub. One of the biggest challenges we face as a business is educating the broader market on digital assets and how we are and who we are as a business. And that education hub we really see as a first step towards the broader market. Probably if you're on this call, then you're part of the small percentage of people in the world that understand digital assets. And what we really need to do as a business is take that knowledge base from around around 10% of fully informed. Some people say 30% of people have crypto accounts, but take that sort of 10% of people that are really informed, turn that into 80%. So that education hub is a really vital part of our strategy, and you'll see a lot more from us. If we go to the next slide, please. One of the things I was most proud of in that was really the community token that we launched, because it really is an example of us being an example of who we aspire to as a business, and using our own technology and innovation sort of in alignment to what we talk about. And I think you'll find when you look at the power of that community token, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on, that you'll see that it's actually the marketing tool of the future. You know, I use the example of the AO Art Ball, and really having that awakening during the quarter, which is why we launched it. That I have an AO Art Ball in my wallet, and this may seem like Swahili to some people, but please, you know, sign up for the token. We might have a QR code at the end that you can sign up to, but we'll certainly, we have it on the website. And inside of that, having that token in your wallet, what that means is we can engage with our community in different ways. We talk about rewards points, and we've seen the success of those. This really is a new way of engaging, because at any given moment, if you have that token in your wallet, we can communicate with you. We can do airdrops of other tokens. We can email you offerings. For my art ball, I got free tickets to the tennis this year. And when I received those, it took me a few months to realize the power of that marketing, because I think I was talking about it for about 4 months before I actually realized how incredible it was that an art ball I had bought 2 years earlier was still engaging with me as a consumer in a new and different way. So I think actually that community engagement will be, when we look back, one of the greatest things we did in this quarter. In terms of the business activity for the quarter, I think we've probably spoken about a lot of the things on this slide already. We did apply for approval of the Bitcoin ETF, and we did receive that subsequent to the quarter end. So we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. You can see I've got my BTXX logo behind me, so we can talk about that a little bit more. But we did maintain our performance. So as I mentioned, the Preqin results were really good for us, performing in Asia versus our peers. We locked in a partnership with Liquidity to allow Liquidity and members the ability to invest directly into our own offering, which for us, distribution channels and building that distribution muscle is really important. As I said, the Sell My Shares business revenue, very consistent and strong at 706,000, quarterly record, 2.3% higher than the previous quarter. No words really required when a business is delivering like that. We're very proud of our, you know, restructuring of with the Morrisons relationship and how we've approached that. In terms of product development, this is where the exciting sort of look through, I guess, for all the tech geeks is happening. What I was saying earlier about the universal scoring matrix, the smart list and the playlist, that is a huge initiative for us in terms of bringing the whole business together and how we invest, what we invest in, and then potentially offering those lists to the public so that people can look at that secret sauce and understand it in a different way. We're very proud of how that's progressing. And as I said, that speaks into performance, and it's sort of the unspoken about methodologies in funds management. They bring that performance and a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes with the teams and how we're all working together to contribute to that. I've also been working very hard on distribution channels. You know, the channel development in the funds business is super important. We've talked about that a lot. And really, that's one of the whys behind the Bitcoin ETF. But there are other new Web3 channels that are equivalent to, if not leapfrogs to ETFs. We've been focusing on opening up some of those channels through technology to allow our own product to be sold into the area where we believe we'll have what product people call product market fit. And so that has been a big effort into the quarter. And we're very proud of that. And when we skip to the next slide, which can be now, we can talk about how we're partnering to do that, I believe is the next slide. We'll do corporate activities and step back into that. So as I mentioned earlier, with the capital raise in the previous quarter, the seeding of and the deployment of that capital and putting it to work was a huge priority for us. As flagged in the capital raise, we did seed the Real World Asset Tokenization Fund, or the DART Fund, as was previously known. We also sought approval of the ASX, from the ASX, of the Bitcoin ETF, which there's a sort of a bit of I guess, a war of words going on around the nuances of the differences between all of the ETFs. And what we were most proud of is applying for a entitlement trust, which allows investors to get direct access to the Bitcoin, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we talk about the People's ETF, and why we believe that having that direct look through is really important, and how we leverage that 5-year track record and all of those years of learnings from managing physical Bitcoin, or spot Bitcoin, as you might call it. And then the third corporate activity, again, was our education hub. And I did speak a lot about the community token. I won't go there again, but, you know, we would love everybody to sign up. So we'll talk about that at the end, and the links to the website and how to do that. On the next slide, we are here and very excited to talk about what's happening next. We have been talking about this partnership with 3iQ and K2, which allowed us to get into the Bitcoin ETF market so quickly. And that partnership and developing that and further opportunities in the ETF market is hugely important for us, having that global expertise from 3iQ and that local knowledge with the ASX relationship with K2. So we're super excited about that and how it can help us with the distribution, both locally and globally. The big thing we think for people to include digital assets into their portfolio is really around this story of having 5% of their portfolio in digital assets, and making sure that you get this opportunity, this highly volatile, I will say again, opportunity, but having, you know, risk-weighted 5% of your portfolio in digital assets really is where we need to be educating the market via the Ed Hub, and you know, teaching people that we believe that this is a generational wealth creation opportunity, and offering that up into people's portfolios is the why behind the Bitcoin ETF and a lot of the work we do in the funds management business. And you'll see a lot from us in the Ed Hub this quarter around that. We've also, you know, I mentioned that 100 million critical mass point before. We are working to, you know, secure a strategic partner to cornerstone all of our products into that growth into the funds management industry, and to firmly position ourselves. In terms of the sell my shares and drawbridge strategy, again, that comes down to partnering, of, you know, really finding that partner in drawbridge to continue that margin growth via that positioning in the drawbridge marketplace, to have the, you know, customers who are the employees of the share sales businesses will be hugely important, and potentially add wholesale clients to identify adjacent revenue streams in that business. Again, I talked about partnerships a little bit earlier with K2 and 3iQ, but in terms of innovation and how we operate in the market, we do highlight the partnership with the University of New South Wales and the DFCRC around the Smart List and the playlist work that we do. And you know, that's hugely important to us, not only to contribute to the thought leadership in Australia, but also is a really great way to collaborate to develop our internal tools and potentially external client-facing new product. We are, as I said, also working very hard on developing Web3 sales channels, and that is both a local and global conversation, which again, I'll speak to that 3iQ partnership. If we go to the next slide, we can go to our Outlook. I think we're going to try and play a video here, but it looks like that's not going to happen. But I encourage everybody to go onto the Bitcoin ETF website and to check out the video that we have that really showcases that Bitcoin ETF, or BTXX offering. I'm just going to turn my screen around here, and so you can see the logo. Got to work out where to sit. Here we go. I've been ducking and weaving, trying to keep that a secret behind my head the whole way through. So I don't know if you can see my headshot there, but BTXX is something we're hugely proud of. We rang the bell at the Australian Stock Exchange. The CEO of the ASX came, and we do see that as a really bright spot in the outlook for our company, really bringing Bitcoin to the people. And as I said, that nickname of the People's ETF is not something that we take lightly. The offering, we worked hard and spent a lot of time around getting that right, of creating an entitlement trust, or a bear trust as it's called, so that consumers have a direct look through to Bitcoin. So owning a piece of our ETF is owning a piece of Bitcoin. You are the beneficial owner. If you have a unit of the ETF, you have that equivalent unit of Bitcoin. Obviously, there's complexities to that, of the unit changing and a whole lot of detail around that. But what you need to remember is that we offer, in partnership with Coinbase, our expertise on how we do what's called cold storage for Bitcoin. It's what I said earlier, that we have one of the longest track records in the world for managing Bitcoin. It's part of being that OG Bitcoin company in Australia and having the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And we're offering that directly. There are other types of products. We don't talk about our competitors. What we talk about is what we've created for our investors, what we've created for the general public. And we're super proud of that entitlement trust and that direct look through that you get. When you deal with our product, you are dealing with Bitcoin. So, and we just see that as an access channel. And, you can go onto the website and see all of the detail behind that and all of the work that's gone into it. I think I started, and we'll finish this webinar talking about the institutional influx that's happened in this space. When I first started this role, obviously, volatility was still there, and we created what we call the shift list, which is all of the events that are happening, no matter what in our industry, no matter what the price volatility is showing us. There is real and genuine activity from institutions in this space. That's what keeps me awake at night, is Digital X being relevant for the next 10 years and really taking advantage of the opportunity we have as an early mover. And we work very hard with the Real World Asset Tokenization Fund, which the cat's out of the bag. We renamed it to the REWAX Fund, just to get some more traction on that name, because really the Real World Asset Tokenization narrative is what is really picking up momentum. You've got the likes of Larry Fink talking about it. It's one of the fastest growing sectors in finance right now. Yes, a lot of that's coming through the BUIDL product from BlackRock, but it's also showing everybody that this is a leapfrog to ETFs. These are new channels that can be explored, and Digital X is right at the frontier of that, and we're super proud of the work we're doing in that, and we really want to highlight that to the market. All of that being said, why do we love that? We love that because it can open a new channel for us, and the team is driving our initiatives towards distribution strategies to increase the TVL, or the assets under management, like BTXX. All of those initiatives, only one thing moves the needle, and that's bringing in assets under management, and we're committed and dedicated to working towards that. As I said, we continue to focus on execution, simplifying the business, and making sure the message to shareholders is very simple and clear. Digital X, BTXX, Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and leading the world in real world asset tokenization. Now, I have managed this time to leave some time for questions. So if people would like to jump in and ask some questions, that would be wonderful.